Pow, pow, pow. All right, greetings from the wasteland. This is Freedom Phil. What's the topic today? Are women actually worth having in the workforce in critical positions? Because when you look at some of the liabilities that come with it, it actually explains why you make less. And if you were such a great deal, why would we just hire you when you're cheaper? Yeah, it's kind of a touchy subject, but I just want to have a conversation about this. It's Freedom Phil, like, subscribe, and let's get into it. And hey, turn up the video speed. Why do I say that? Because when I upload this at 1.75, watch it faster, man. That's what you should be doing. Like, subscribe, let's get into this. I regularly see these people that talk about, discrimination in the workforce and whatnot, and, the situation like gender gaps and all that, even sometimes minorities, racial gaps and all that. And I ask the question, are you more of a profit than a liability? Because as a man, that's our life. If you're not bringing money, making money for the company, you're not there. All this crap about we're a family business, blah, blah, blah. No, that's words. That's cheaper than paying you. And I see situations where, frankly, there's a lot of women in business that your job is almost like a secretarial-esque, make busy work job. Like if the budget had to be cut, we'd find cheaper ways to do this. Good example is the fact of tech workers from, say, India or whatnot coming over here, or China, and doing it for $10,000 or $20,000 less, which I disagree with. I think if you're going to be an American company, you should have to hire Americans first. They shouldn't be able to act like, well, we can't find anybody to do these jobs. We should really evaluate if you actually did that. If you can't, we're going to up your taxes. If you want to hire a bunch of foreigners instead of paying real Americans that, by the way, that all the reasons that these kids had to go to these colleges and spend 4 years of their lives and lots of money and time wasted. If you're going to force these kids to do this shit, then you need to hire Americans. But then we look at some of the bloat in business. And I'm going to be honest, if I was running a business, I would try to keep it as trim as fucking possible. I don't want somebody who looks like they're going to be a half-ass worker or a liability. And, no offense to women, but I view the idea that you as a business owner should have to pay for paternity leave as a liability. I am not the one who decided to go get pregnant. You and whoever decided to have some happy joy time, and now you want to have a baby. That's fine. But you taking off 6 weeks of time, and by the way, you have to put this in perspective as well. Even if I didn't have to pay you for that time, I'm still losing a valuable employee that I've taken time to train and get customized to what our business does. Because of your decision, now my business is at a disadvantage. Why would I logically hire someone like that? Then we even got into some of these countries where they're like even more than 6 weeks of paternity leave. And the men even get the paternity leave because, it's discrimination otherwise. I understand the reasoning, the legality reasoning, but it seems fucking retarded to me. Like usually the man's out there, hunting down the mastodon, the mammoth. Bring back a chunk of meat for the family. No, he needs to stay at home and help with the baby. That's what extended family are for. To help her out right after she has a kid. And I shouldn't have to pay you for having that kid. By the way, this is part of the reason a lot of people are less likely to want to hire women. That's one reason right there. Are you going to be as good of a worker? Here's another reason men generally make more money. When you're checking out at 3 o'clock, like 2:30 something in the afternoon to pick up your kids at school at 3 o'clock, that man might be there till 6. That man puts in extra hours. Of course he makes more money. He does more work and is there more hours. Duh. It's just like I've talked to women about this. I actually know women are highly successful. By the way, they don't have employees. They have contractors they deal with. They have people they deal with. They don't have employees, and for good reason, because you don't want to have to pay all those bennies out. It's funny how logical a lot of women become once they run the business. They're like, well, wait a minute, I don't want to pay out that money to these people. You fucking kidding me? I'm not paying 6 weeks to somebody. That's their fucking problem. Women become really logical when they've got the money and the power. Only if they've built it, though. I got to be honest. Some rich chicks, they are smart because they know their daddy worked hard for that money. But any woman who built up her own successful business thinks like a man. Thinks as cutthroat as any man. Maybe even worse. Now, are you going to have a bunch of people working for you that are a fucking liability? Like, if you're a man and you have a bunch of female employees, at any given time, one of them could just be like, he sexually assaulted me. He said things he said he wanted to sleep with me. And that could possibly happen. Big surprise. People are fucking stupid. But why would you want to hire that liability onto your company? If not for diversity quotas, do you think this shit would be going on? By the way, no offense to the black community, but you gotta think people are thinking that. Not only did you get hired potentially as a diversity hire, but no, and that's insulting if you're really talented, by the way, but perhaps they're looking at you as the next lawsuit. The next lawsuit. The next potential situation where they're cost hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, because maybe someone made some shit up. This is something a lot of people just don't understand. And you know, there is a good thing about a recession. A recession resets things back to the basic baseline balance that should exist. All the bloat, all the BS workers get fired. And they trim the fat down to the level where it's just muscle, sinew, and bone. And thinking meat. That is what a business should be. Some of the greatest dynamic duos were just two guys working together. Go and look at Madison Avenue, just situations where two guys made incredibly good ad campaigns, or a handful of people made a great video game. A handful of talented people made a TV show. Hell, how many writers are just one person? Businesses that get too big and end up having to hire bloat based on government quotas, diversity, this, that. Inevitably, they either get sold, or they cut the bloat and get said, oh, you're a horrible person for firing all these useless people. But let's take it back to you. And by the way, whoever just made that comment, the Shah's been gone since the 70s, you fucking retard. Fucking idiots. Common-born filth. Fucking learn the proper terms. If you're running a business, your objective is to make money. Money. Your objective is to go out and do this so you can live a better life. Pregnant chicks don't make you money. They don't. If you're selling diapers, they make money. Selling baby formula, they make you money. Selling strollers, they make you money. But they only make you money as a woman at home buying shit. A woman you're paying paternity leave to? That's just a business loss. And every real sensible business owner, especially the women I know that are highly successful, they don't allow their business to be run like that. Like I said earlier, a lot of them, they do private contractors. They don't want employees. They want someone to come in and does the gig. They want somebody else dealing with that cost. They don't want to carry that cost. And that's why I look at it and say, wouldn't you be better off? Now, just a wild thought here. Instead of trying to girl boss up, and be all like, oh God, I gotta have the next trendy thing in the purse and the fucking lifestyle and the blah, blah, blah. Wouldn't it just be better if you worked when you're young, paid off, had a house paid off, then had a family? I'm not saying to be a broodmare for the state. I'm not by no means saying that. But wouldn't your life be better if you didn't have to go to work? You have a skill as a backup plan, kind of like where you see the situation where the man has a job and she's maybe a nurse on the side or a secretary. She doesn't have to go to work. But if she chooses to, like if he gets sick, she can actually go to work. And because their house is paid off and they've already done their investing when they're young, they have the dividends coming in. She is now the optional worker. Otherwise, she could be saving at home. I mean, here's the other thing. Wild thought here. Instead of having childcare, you have grandparents. You have, nanas and papas. Basically they go out. Both parents can work because you have a strong legacy family unit. Hell, you could even have the kids learning at home. The old teaching the young the ways of the people. But instead, we have a society where most people, they make money and they piss away their money. They piss away their money and then act stupid when the business goes under. Now, if you ran your business, your life like a business, like a tight ship, and which is what most people would do, like you're not letting some homeless person in like the, Skid Row. You're not letting some Skid Row motherfucker sleep on your couch. You run your own business like it's a gated community, your own life like a gated community. Now, why shouldn't you look at liabilities that way if you're a business owner? And that's like I said, there's a lot of people I just wouldn't hire. In fact, I would argue a lot of times you are better off being a one-man army. If you're building a business, it's just you. It's just you. You don't want employees. You don't want any of that shit. You don't want people that are going to be able to turn around and fuck you over and sue your ass. You want any of that. You know what? I'll tell you what. I'll be benevolent right now. I'll actually read a comment. GF had a... Okay, you want to know what degree to get? Go get Aaron Clarey's book, Useless. No, it's Worthless. The book called Worthless. Go get Aaron Clarey's book, Worthless. He wrote it over 15 years ago, and it told what degrees to get. There weren't worth shit 15 years ago. That probably are even worse now. You go pay Aaron Clarey to answer that question. I ain't getting paid to do this. Shit, I drove truck for years. And I love driving truck. Well, truck driving, I made 80 to 100K and I could live off 5K a year, free apartment on wheels. I can't tell you what your girlfriend's doing. Accountants can work from home. Secretary, nurse, work. We're doing all sorts of stuff. Get a trade. Get into something that they can't really outsource. But you want to ask this technical question to save your life. Go pay Aaron Clarey for that. I ain't making no money here. No offense. I'm just being real. But yeah, and it's not to say that women in the workforce is a bad thing to end this. I'm just saying, if I've got to pay somebody because they decide to get pregnant, if I got to take on this liability of she could falsely accuse me and ruin my fucking business, ruin my life. By the way, one of the trucking companies I worked for, that guy bought I don't know if it was a Ferrari or a Corvette. I think it was a Corvette. And he made some comment, oh yeah, that's a pussy-getting mobile. And his wife heard that in the background. That's part of the reason he had a horrible divorce. There's another thing you do. You married with a good business, you've been fucking yourself over being married. That's a whole separate conversation. Man, I'm pretty sure that one of the secretaries, the HR chicks, was slobbing that dude's knob. And I'm pretty sure that's why he lost about half of his business. All because of some pussy at work. So, that to me, that's just a liability. Just saying. Freedom Phil, like, subscribe, take it easy.